السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. وعليكم السلام. Hope everyone is doing well. Alhamdulillah. It's good to see again some new names, some familiar faces, or names, I should say, no faces. Just any questions, inshallah, before we get started, as we wait for some people to join in, inshallah, across the different platforms that we have. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wait a minute, inshallah, and then we'll get started. Okay, Bismillah. Let us get started, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal-mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawm ad-din. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد من بعد الرضا اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, welcome to our 11th class, Alhamdulillah, in our Ramadan series, to our look of the Tafseer of the Quran. We're, Alhamdulillah, in Surah Al-Ahzab, and we had stopped at verse 12. So we're going to start, inshallah, verse 13. Before we start, just as a reminder to myself and to those who are with us today, alhamdulillah, that we're on the doorsteps of the last 10 nights. Tonight, inshallah, from Maghrib, is the 21st night, which is the first of the last 10 nights, the first of the odd nights. And, you know, everyone obviously knows that the last 10 nights are the nights really where it's kind of, you know, this is the home stretch and this is the most valuable time of the entire month. And so, for example, if a person has felt that they haven't taken advantage of the first 20 days, 20 nights in a way that they're happy with, then alhamdulillah, these last 10 are the best 10 of the month to end the month strong with, So it's an opportunity, of course, to not just make up for what has been missed, but also to gain the most rewarding aspect of this month. So it's like the culmination of kind of, this entire month is Laylatul Qadr, and that is in these last 10. So it is something to kind of plan for as well. A lot of, I'm sure you've already probably come across some advices, some strategies to take advantage of these last 10, but there are obviously some key things to be focusing on, and there are some key things to be looking out for as well. So this was the only time in the year that the Prophet ﷺ would stay up the entire night in ibadah. Usually, even in the other parts of Ramadan, but usually throughout the year as well, that he would sleep for a part of the night, he would rest for a part of the night, and he would stay awake and pray for part of the night. The only time in which he would pray, or not specifically pray, but that he would stay up the entire night in various acts of ibadah was in these last 10. And this doesn't mean that a person has to do this, especially maybe if a person is working or if a person just is unable to do so. But it means that the nights here are even more valuable, right? And so maybe adding a little bit more to the nights than what a person has had in it in the first 20 of Ramadan. Maybe mixing things up, just adding a little bit more Quran, a little bit more dua, a little bit more dhikr. Okay? If a person is able to stay up the whole night, then alhamdulillah, right? And then as well, to mix between different, like we had said, different actions of worship. What's the best of the actions? I think it goes back to the person's focus level and where they find the strongest connection. So maybe you're someone who's connecting a lot with the Quran, okay, and so that's where you're putting more of your time in these nights. Maybe you're someone who's just, they just feel that stronger connection making dua, and so you want to put more emphasis or more focus on that, right? But to have a mix between these actions of worship, maybe you're someone who enjoys, that you're feeling that connection standing in salah. There's that as well, right? So mixing between the ibadat, obviously it doesn't mean that it has to be a continuous just worship for the entire night. You can obviously have some some breaks sometimes to kind of recuperate. Don't burn yourself out. Like we always say, you're pushing yourself, inshallah, more than you normally would, but you're focusing on quality as well, still over quantity. And yes, the quantity, inshallah, you can increase, and it will increase in these things, but it's not just quantity here. It's focusing on the quality. Okay, that's that's something. Also, a good idea that comes up a lot of these times is, having some sadaqah that you give on the every night, and that doesn't have to be a large amount. It doesn't have to be anything. I'm trying to find what the website is. There's even a website that you have automated giving. So you can kind of just set it and then it'll take from each night. But active giving is good as well. in some kind of cause or something that there's benefit in. That way, if you give every night, you've given on every night of the last 10 nights. So that's something definitely, inshallah, that there's benefit in as well. And then on that same note with the du'as, one of the advices that was given is that you have maybe certain du'as that you list out. So certain du'as that you're looking for, certain du'as that you are that are really important to you. And so you write down these du'as, or you keep these du'as in mind, and you make these du'as every night in the last 10 nights, right? That way, again, your du'a is being made on one of these last 10 nights that coincides with Laylatul Qadr. And then, of course, the repetition and reminding yourself of that du'a that the Prophet ﷺ advised his beloved wife Aisha radiallahu anha, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anna, or fa'afu anni. Oh Allah, you are al-afu, you are the one who pardons, the pardoner. You love to pardon, so pardon me. So you're reminding yourself of that as you go through this night. And that, besides just seeking forgiveness, and that's one of the most valuable things to seek in these nights as well. Besides just that, there's also within that a something that is, allowing you hopefully to enjoy what you're doing and not feel it just as a burden, because you're reminding yourself that you're worshiping and you're turning to the one who not only forgives but loves to forgive, right? Who's appreciative of your worship, who's appreciative of your worship, and who, inshallah, has given you the tawfiq to do so. And so hopefully that's a sign of acceptance. Hopefully that's a sign of acceptance, right? So having that variance, having those different actions throughout the nights, and one that I would give as well, I was advised with, I think that's beneficial, is to also don't forget those who are around you. Don't forget those who are around you. So yes, it is a very individual, intimate, personal time, right? But also your service of others and benefiting others, especially in a spiritual capacity, but not limited to a spiritual capacity, that is something that's also very rewardable. And if you're facilitating for someone else or for something else, that inshallah can be something that is great in benefits. Whether it's giving someone, maybe someone's sleeping at that time before the fasting starts, and giving them some water. Maybe it's praying with a family member. Maybe it's maybe a family member has some sort of something that they need help with, and helping them. Right? So don't just put them to the side and say, no, I'm not going to help you. I just need to focus on my ibadah. That's an action of ibadah as well, to help someone else, inshallah. So again, these are just a few small reminders here and there for myself, inshallah, and for everyone. And the key is, to ask Allah for acceptance. Whatever we put forth is small, is flawed, right? And so we hope for Allah's generosity, for Allah's mercy in accepting from us. Okay, let's see. There's a few questions here. What's the best to do when you can't do salah? It really depends on what you find connection in. And specifically, the two main things in terms of personal actions of worship that come to mind are Quran and dua, and also dhikr. Because maybe you're just mentally kind of just tired, right? And you just you kind of have to take a break. Dhikr is something that you can include in that. Taking a small break, no problem, inshallah, right? But then also having dhikr and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, small actions that have huge rewards. Right? Like we talked about this last surah. Whoever says subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim 100 times in a day, his sins are forgiven, her sins are forgiven. minor sins, even if they're like the foam of the ocean. Small things, huge reward, right? And then again, emphasizing the fara'id as well, emphasizing the fara'id. So making sure that trying your best to pray Isha and Fajr in congregation. I would say actually Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr in congregation all of these nights. Why? Because inshallah, then that's the most, maybe the most rewarding part of the nights, Maghrib and Isha, because they're the obligations. Okay, and then Fajr, of course, the reward of praying the night. Okay. So alhamdulillah, reciting Quran, but I missed tahajjud, can't go to sleep. Please advise. You missed tahajjud, but you can't go to sleep. Do your best. Do your best. If you miss tahajjud because of, oh, you're saying, I think I see what you're saying. Meaning you can't fall asleep to wake up for tahajjud. Maybe is that what I'm? So that's okay, because like I said, in these nights, that staying up all night is valid. It's good. It's okay if you can. And some people, they advise also, sleeping before iftar. Don't do it like, okay, I'm gonna sleep from now after class until Maghrib. No, not like that. But taking a nap, taking a rest before Maghrib, so that you're energized for the night, and having your intention being, I'm doing this to energize myself for the night. That's something that could help. And don't be so difficult on yourself, like overburden yourself. But try to enjoy it. Push yourself, yes, but try to enjoy it as well, inshallah. Also, in nafil salah, is it better to do long qiyam and thus fewer rak'ahs, or more rak'ahs with shorter surah? So what's closer to the sunnah, you could say, is longer prayers in general. Longer prayers in general. The Prophet ﷺ, he had very long qiyam, but he also had very long ruku' and long sujood. So that's closer to the actual sunnah here. But what you see happen, and I think we talked about this in the development of Taraweeh, was that's how it started. So that's how, when the companions kind of reconvened people for Taraweeh, that's what they started with. But they realized it was too long. It was too much. So people were it was too difficult for people to follow that, like how the Prophet ﷺ did it exactly. And so they lessened the rak'at, or they lessened the length of the prayer, but they increased the rak'at. That's where you get 20 from. And then even, Imam Malik is, in his madhab, it's 36. Why is it 36? Because that's what Imam Malik said that we found the people of Medina doing. We found the people of Medina doing. This was what the action of the people of Medina were doing. So they increased the rak'ahs, but they decreased the length of the prayer. And so I think it would really go back to how a person feels and how a person is connecting. If they feel like, that they're just getting really bored standing and it's too long, then to shorten the rak'ahs and maybe increase the sajda time. I know a lot of last year I remember that some of the sisters, they it's not just sisters, but I remember hearing it specifically from some of the sisters that the rak'ahs and the sajdas were too long in the tahajjud prayer at the masjid, and even side note, but even when they were praying and the the line or the feed cut, and so it cut when they were in ruku'. And so they thought, or sujood, I don't remember which one, they thought that the imam is just super extending the ruku' and sujood. They're still in ruku', still in sujood, not realizing that the feed had cut and they were just still there. So, but what I was saying is that there's sometimes a complaint that it's just too, that ruku', that sujood is too long. right? So now, alhamdulillah, you're at home, you kind of are in control of the lengths of these things. You can customize it and have it to where, the idea here is again connection. It's being able to find that, that feeling of closeness, or at least to work towards that. Does ICN have the donation option where it'll be distributed equally each day on the last 10 days of Ramadan? Not that I know of. I'm not sure. I don't know. But that, what I would say is, I know you can automate your donation, but I think it's more on a monthly basis. So I don't know if it's on a daily basis. But I think active, active donation is better than automated. Automated is good because it's like if I forget, but to actively go out of your way every night, and you have again between Maghrib and Fajr, right? But so to actively go out of your way every night and say, you know what, I'm gonna give to this, or a cause comes up and I'm gonna give to this, right? That's, I think, that it's better because it contains more of the the push towards sadaqah, or towards giving. Does one have to pray witr after tahajjud? Does it have to be the last salah for the night? So technically, no, it doesn't have to be the last salah. Like we said, if you're praying tarawih, and you are like maybe with the family and they want to pray witr together, and you pray witr with them, no problem. You have two options. You can pray witr with them and then get up for another rak'ah to make it so that it's not witr, and then you delay your witr till the end. It's preferable if you know you're going to be praying later on, like in the night, like tahajjud or whatever it may be, that it's preferable to make witr the last salah, but it's not an obligation. The obligation is just that you don't have two witrs in one night. So if you're able to delay it to the last salah of the night, that's preferable. That's closer to the sunnah, no doubt. But if you pray it earlier and you feel like you have the strength to pray more after, then just don't pray witr again. Can you do tahajjud even if you don't sleep? So again, we kind of talked about like what's the difference between the names here: tahajjud, qiyam, tarawih. So if you don't sleep, yes, inshallah, in that last third of the night and you praying at that time, inshallah, it's still, again, this is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the last 10 nights, is that he didn't sleep. And so your approach to prayer or whatever action of worship there, like if you're not sleeping and you're praying, then this is, in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regardless of what the name of the salah is. If we do witr at night after tarawih, can we still pray tahajjud? We just mentioned that. We have a zakat question. Can we give zakat to a family member who has jewelry but is in need of financial support due to being unable to work because of COVID-19? That is a good question. Brother. I'm not sure if that jewelry is of value where it can be traded in and it can become wealth for them. Then I'm not sure then if it's past a certain amount, if that qualifies them for zakat or not. I'm not sure. That's something I would ask Shaykh Rizwan, inshallah. You can email him or wait till his live, and you can ask him, inshallah. I'm not sure. imam@icnmasjid.org is a way to get a hold of him, bi'idhnillah. Okay. Jameel, if there's other questions, you can send them in, inshallah. But we'll get started now so we can get to the ayats, bi'idhnillah. Okay, like we said, we had stopped at ayah 12. So we'll start from ayah 13, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قالت طائفة منهم يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم فارجعوا ويستأذن فريق منهم النبي يقولون إن بيوتنا عورة وما هي بعورة إن يريدون إلا فرارا ولو دخلت عليهم من أقطارها ثم سئلوا الفتنة لآتوها وما تلبثوا بها إلا يسيرا ولقد كانوا عاهدوا الله من قبل لا يولون الأدبار وكان عهد الله مسؤولا قل لن ينفعكم الفرار إن فررتم من الموت أو القتل وإذا لا تمتعون إلا قليلا قل من ذا الذي يعصمكم من الله إن أراد بكم سوءا أو أراد بكم رحمة ولا يجدون لهم من دون الله وليا ولا نصيرا. Okay, we'll read up to there. Up to ayah 17. So translation. When a group of them said, O people of Yathrib, you cannot stand, so return. A party of them sought permission from the Messenger ﷺ, saying, our homes are exposed. Whereas they were not left exposed, they sought only to desert. If an enemy has to attack them from the flanks and they were asked to cause trouble, they would comply with only a moment's hesitance. They had certainly made a pledge with Allah before that they will never turn their backs. A pledge made with Allah is answerable. Say, taking flight will not help you if you were to flee from death or killing. You will then enjoy only a few days of life. Say, who can defend you against Allah if He intends evil or good for you? Besides Allah, they will not find any protecting friend nor any helper. Okay. Jameel. Could sharing iftar with friends and giving gifts to them be considered as sadaqah as well? Be considered as sadaqah as well. So it's a rewardable thing. It's a rewardable thing. I don't know if I would. So it's rewardable for sure. I mean, the reward of giving iftar to someone and feeding them is the reward of, getting the reward of the fasting person. So it's definitely a rewardable action, no doubt about it. And it's something that has tremendous, inshallah, benefits. Tremendous benefit, for sure. For sure. She is saving it for her child's wedding. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, that's why I said I'm not sure. That's why I said I'm not sure, but I would ask Shaykh Rizwan and see what he says. But that makes sense. That makes sense. She's saving it. So Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. Okay. So what we had said yesterday, we had left as the reflection point. Why do the hypocrites here call Medina by the name Yathrib? Why do they call it by the name Yathrib when the name has already been changed to Medina? Why is Allah showing us this and telling us that this is what they did? Right? And so in this verse 13, وَإِذْ قَالَتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ, when a group of them, yani of the hypocrites, said, يَا أَهْلَ يَثْرِبْ, O people of Yathrib, لَا مُقَامَ لَكُمْ, you cannot, there's no maqam, you cannot stand. And we'll talk about this. فَرْجِعُوا, so return. So we got actually a good amount of people who had sent in reflections like that day, like right during class, like after class, in class. So we had a few of them, and they all kind of revolved around this same point here. And I see Dr. Wahid also mentions here the incitement to get back to the old faith and abandon the new faith by the Prophet ﷺ. Jameel. This is really kind of what it revolves around here, is that they're exposing themselves. They're exposing themselves by referring to the name of the old name of the city that has been prohibited. The Prophet ﷺ had prohibited the people of Medina from calling it Yathrib, because Yathrib was a name that indicated, a time and a condition of that city that was a time and a condition of sickness, not just spiritual sickness, but even physical sickness. And when the name was changed to Medina, it is a new era for that city, an era of health, of light, of faith. Okay, so them calling it by that name exposed them in their intentions, exposed them in how they saw, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his authority in Medina. It showed, like many people had mentioned, a desire to go back to the way things were, go back to the times of Jahiliyyah, go back to their old faith, right? So you have that being exposed on their tongues, and that's what we said yesterday, right? That these times they show realities to ourselves and those who are around us. So it's exposing them by their own tongues. Ya Ahla Yathrib, they're saying, oh, people of Yathrib, right? So they want to go back to that Jahiliyyah, that Asabiyah, that tribalism and this and that's that's they're riling that kind of up, intentionally or intentionally, by calling it Yathrib, by calling it this, to kind of like bring back that feeling of Jahiliyyah, that feeling of, oh, this is, you hear, sometimes we're reminded of a certain time or a certain event or a certain memory by hearing a name, or by smelling even a smell. There's certain things that trigger, oh yeah, remember back in the day, the nostalgia. And here it's a nostalgia of evil, right? But this is their Ya Ahla Yathrib. So kind of, invoking those memories and invoking those feelings of going back to that time. La muqama lakum. There's no standing for you, is how it's translated. And this is understood in a few ways by the Mufassirin. Number one, there's a la muqama lakum here like this is a more general way. Like there's no standing for you, there's no place for you, basically, in the deen of Islam, is what they're saying. Farji'u. So go back. Go back to what? Go back to disbelief. Go back to disbelief. That's more of a minority opinion, you could say, or like the less clear opinion, but that's what some of the Mufassirin mentioned, that it's an incitement to go back to disbelief, right? There's no place for you in the deen of Islam, so go back to disbelief, is what the hypocrites are saying. But the more, you could say, the more accepted, and what's kind of translated here as well, is there's no place for you in murabata, in this circumstance, in this battle, right? In this situation. And the concept of murabata, which is standing guard here, and being a soldier of protecting the Muslim city here, because there's no there's not really, like we said, there's not really that much fighting. And so one of the primary kind of goals, or one of the primary kind of duties of the Muslims here is murabata, this standing guard and standing patient, protecting the front lines of the Muslim society, right? So they're saying there's no place for you here, yani there's no benefit of you being here. Protect yourselves, protect your families, go back, farji'u, right? Return home. Also, it can be understood as like you can't stand here against this large and powerful army, so return home, right? So generally, the common link between these things is this idea of like don't don't be part of this. Don't be part of this, and giving different reasons why, but return home. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَسْتَأْذِنُ فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمُ النَّبِيِّ. And so even a group of them is seeking permission from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do what? To leave the front lines, to leave the trenches, and to go back home. And they give an excuse, right? And this is one of the qualities that the hypocrites have here, is that they don't, to kind of cover up their evil actions, they'll come up with an excuse, with a cop out, right? So that they can't just say, we don't want to be here, we have no desire to fight, we have no desire to be a part of this. And so they say, they give the excuse of inna buyutana awra, right? That our homes are exposed. So we need to go back and we need to protect our families. We need to protect our homes in case the enemy attacks, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He calls them out on this excuse, because it's not a valid excuse. It's not a legitimate excuse. Allah is saying, وَمَا هِيَ بِعَوْرَةٍ. It's not actually exposed. They're not left, unprotected. إِن يُرِيدُونَ إِلَّا فِرَارًا. The reason that they're making this excuse, because it sounds like a legitimate reason, right? Like, our homes are exposed, we have to protect our families, our women, our children, we have to protect our property. This is something that is Islamically, definitely it's Islamically, legitimate, protecting one's family and one's property and one's, and one's home and these things. But they're only using that as a cover to be able to run away, And so Allah is exposing again what's actually inside. He's exposing what's inside. وَمَا هِيَ بِعَوْرَةٍ. It's not awra. Awra means مكشوفة معرضة للساري. يعني it's or كل مكان فيه خلل. يعني something that's exposed, something that is open to, it has like, it has any place that has a khalal, that has like a, an opening, or like a vulnerable point, a weak point. Right? And so this is what they're saying, but Allah is rejecting that and showing the actual reason. Some said this is specifically referring, this fariq is Banu Haritha, which was a group of the people of Medina who were hypocrites, or who had hypocrites amongst them, right? And that they were also the ones who abandoned the Prophet ﷺ in the Battle of Uhud. So if you remember, in the Battle of Uhud, the Muslim army goes out with 1,000, right? And then there's a group of them that actually turn back as they're on their way, and they give an excuse again, and they give a reason again, of going back and protecting their homes and these kind of things. And so they turn back, and they take 300 of the Muslim army with them. And so the Muslim army is left with 700, right? So some said this is the same kind of a group here, or some of the same individuals at least, who are making this excuse, right? Okay, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ دُخِلَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ أَقْطَارِهَا ثُمَّ سُئِلُوا الْفِتْنَةَ لَآتَوْهَا وَمَا تَلَبَّثُوا بِهَا إِلَّا يَسِيرًا. If an enemy has to attack them, this is how it's translated here, if an enemy has to attack them from the flanks, and they were asked to cause trouble, they would comply with only a moment's hesitance. So this is one of the ways that this verse can be understood. The word dakhala, a lot of times in the Quran, is describing, in the context of battle, and in the context of going into a battle or an expedition or a conquest, right? For example, For example, in the story of Prophet Musa with his people in Surah Al-Ma'idah, when He commands them to enter, "Udkhulu alayhim al-bab, فإذا دخلتموه فإنكم غالبون." Enter on them through the door. And here again, it's describing like a scene or a experience of battle, right? And so here it's similar. وَلَوْ دُخِلَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ أَقْطَارِهَا. The dakhil here, like, which means to enter, is referring, generally it's understood to be referring to within the context here of battle. القطر من أقطارها. Al-aqtar is the plural of قطر, which is the nahiya, like the sides of something, the flanks, as it's translated here. It's talking about nawahi al-Madina, like the flanks, the sides of Medina. So what is it saying here? And then the majority said that fitna here is shirk. Fitna here is shirk. So there the majority, or the one of the opinions that's mentioned here is that these people who want to run away, who Allah is describing, people who are so quick to say inna buyutana awra, our houses are exposed, وَمَا هِيَ بِعَوْرَةٍ إِن يُرِيدُونَ إِلَّا فِرَارًا. These people who want to run away from the hypocrites, if shirk was asked from them, they would go to it without really much hesitation. ثُمَّ سُئِلُوا الْفِتْنَةِ, right? Meaning, for example, if they were entered upon by the enemy, and then they were asked by the enemy, or by those who are coming in and attacking or entering, if they were asked the fitna, and here, like we said, the majority said it means shirk here, meaning they were asked to basically leave Islam and go back to shirk, or go to polytheism, go to disbelief, that they would go to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَآتَوْهَا وَمَا تَلَبَّثُوا بِهَا إِلَّا يَسِيرًا. That they would go to it really without that much hesitation. Why would they go to it without much hesitation? Because they are a people, the hypocrites, who Iman hasn't really entered into their hearts. And so them abandoning Iman, if it's maybe demanded from them, or requested of them, or asked of them, that's not that big of an ask for them to leave Iman, or turn away from it and go to shirk, right? Because that Iman hasn't really entered into their hearts, right? So that is one of the explanations of this, showing that these are a people who are not invested in their Iman, they're not invested in their belief, and so in a time when it's requested or it's called for them to leave, like to go to shirk, that they would do it without that much hesitation, right? The other opinion here is that, and Dhahak, he mentions this, he says they didn't run away, Allah is talking about them as people who ran away, that they didn't run away because they were cowards. They didn't run away because they were cowards. They ran away because they didn't want to support the Prophet ﷺ and be on the side of the Muslims and give the Muslims victory. That's why they ran away, right? And so the fitna that's being referred to here is fighting min ajl al-asabiyya, is fighting because of is fighting for another reason, fighting for like tribalism or societal pride. So if this was an issue of if they were being asked to fight for another reason that they valued, right, which is for fitna, for fighting for for the sake of like this is defending my tribe, or defending my people's honor, that they would have fought and they would have supported. So you would have found that they would have been involved then. So it's not necessarily an issue here of cowardice, but it's an issue of they don't value this this type of fight because they're not invested in it. This is a fight of, you know, a scene, a fight, a situation where it's iman versus disbelief, right? And so because they're not people who have that iman, that they are a people who don't want anything to do with that fight. But we've seen even from, you know, some of these hypocrites or some of the Arabs, right, that before Islam had come to them, that they were fighting long battles, year-long battles, maybe decades-long battles over very, very minute, or relatively speaking, very, very like worthless and unimportant issues, right? The fighting that was happening in Medina before the Prophet ﷺ came over a camel, a decades-long, years-long battle, right? So it's about the fact that they have no investment in this fight, and that's why they're running away. So it's almost as if, like what Allah is saying here, is that if they were asked to fight for another cause, a cause of fitna, they would have come and they would have fought without really much hesitation, right? Then Allah says, وَلَقَدْ كَانُوا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ قَبْلِ لَا يُوَلُّونَ الْأَدْبَارِ وَكَانَ عَهْدُ اللَّهِ مَسْئُولًا. That, you know, they're deserting and they want to run away and they want to flee and retreat, even though they had made a pledge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before that they would never turn their backs. And a pledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that is you know, that needs to be fulfilled. So it's Allah reminding them of their promise, Allah reminding them of their covenants, that like we had said, Banu Haritha had abandoned from before. And so, you know, this was not the first time even that something like this was happening. And so they're being reminded of the pledge or the covenant that they had made to support, to be a part of you know, the defense of the city of Medina, to be on the side of the city of fighting with the believers. But this is something that they break their covenant, their promise again, right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لَنْ يَنْفَعُكُمُ الْفِرَارُ إِنْ فَرَرْتُم مِّنَ الْمَوْتِ أَوِ الْقَتْلِ وَإِذًا لَا تُمَتَّعُونَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Say, taking flights, retreating, running away, will not help you if you were to flee from death or fighting or killing. You will then enjoy only a few days of life, right? The intellect tells us that, the aql tells us that running away, it benefits. That running away, like if you run away from a danger, that it benefits you. Right? I see a danger in front of me, I run away from it, I'm safe. That's what logic tells us, right? But Allah is reminding them here, reminding us here, that that's only the case if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for it to be the case, right? If Allah wills for them to have life, then yes, them running away would benefit them in the sense that it would protect or save their lives, right? If not, though, if Allah doesn't will for them to have life and for their life to be extended, then them running away doesn't benefit them. And so at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one in control. And that's why we also hear, you know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, He says that وَلَوْ كُنْتُمْ فِي بُرُوجٍ مُشَيَّدَةٍ. He's saying that that death will come to you if it's written for you. If death is written for you, it will come to you, even if you are in burujim mushayyada, even if you are in these tall buildings, these fortresses that are fortified, right? That death, if it's written for you to come to you, it will come to you wherever you are, however you are. Okay, so don't just think that you running away is in and of itself going to protect you from death. It may temporarily protect you, but it's only if Allah wills for them to have life. Otherwise, it's not going to benefit them running away, right? And that's why even then afterwards, Allah is saying that even if you run away and you save your lives in this moment, in the moment of Al-Khandaq, you're not going to live forever, right? You're not going to live forever. Right? إذن لا تمتعون إلا قليلا. Yeah, if you escape with your lives, then there's going to be a time when you're going to pass away anyway, right? And so your enjoyment or your few days, your few years, however long your life is going to extend, it's a small amount. It's a small amount. And so even it's speaking to them from a logical basis here that, look, your running away is not going to have the intended consequences or the intended results that you want it to have. That you run away and you're safe now, okay, fine. You're safe, but what are you safe from? Who are you safe from? If Allah has written death for you, it's coming. And even if Allah has written for you to be safe, it's only going to be for a little bit of time. And that's the reality, right? That these hypocrites who died on hypocrisy, are any of them still alive? Do we know, do they have a legacy that was left behind? Not a legacy of goodness, right? Unless, of course, they had repented and these kind of things. But Allah is reminding them and reminding us, that our lives are short. So running away from our responsibilities, running away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to run away from death, there's no benefit in that, from a logical perspective, also from a spiritual perspective, right? قُلْ مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَعْصِمُكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ إِنْ أَرَادَ بِكُمْ سُوءًا أَوْ أَرَادَ بِكُمْ رَحْمَةً. And Allah continues and He says, say, who can defend you against, who can protect you against or from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if He intends for an evil to touch you or He intends for you rahmah? On both sides, if Allah wants rahmah for you, even if you say, I don't want that rahmah is going to come to you. If you try to say, I don't want this suit, this harm, this evil to touch me, but Allah intends it for you. And again, from Allah, it wouldn't be considered su. On you, it would be su. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would be considered justice, right? Or it would be considered a test. But the idea here is that who? Answer that question. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَعْصِمُكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Who is going to protect you? Who is going to aid you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for you, wills for you something, whether it's something of good or something of bad for you, right? وَلَا يَجِدُونَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. And they are not going to find, besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any protecting friend nor any helper. It should be a wake-up call, right? For them, for us, who else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to protect you? You run away, right? You go back to your homes. Who's protecting you in your homes, right? You run away, you abandon the army. Who is the one who's protecting the army? The Muslims, right? So it's a reminder that you can take the material means in what you may think logically is going to protect you, logically is going to be good for you. But if you don't have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there as your wali, there as your nasir, as your supporter, as the one who aids you, as the one who is taking care of you, as the one who's looking after you, then who do you have? Who is there that's going to protect you in general, and who's going to protect you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Right, so it's speaking to them in a way to allow them to allow us to reflect over this as well, and this there's a story that's mentioned here. One of the mashayikh, he mentions it of the story of one of the early khulafa of Islam, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, from the Khalifa, and he was the Khalifa during the time of. He was one of the leaders there during the time of the Ta'un, during the time of the plague, the Amwas, that plague that we've spoken about, that affected the Sahaba, right? And so he was with his his ghulam, like his servant, and he um, when he was leaving, so it was just him and his ghulam, and so he was running. Basically, he was leaving from Dimashq because of the ta'un. He was leaving from Dimashq because of the ta'un, and this is something like we know that this is not the directive. This is that if a person is in a place where there's the ta'un, that they shouldn't leave. And there's a long discussion on this. Anyways, the point is that he's leaving Dimashq, and he only has his ghulam with him. And obviously, this is his servant here. This is not like his, colleague or anything like that. But he's with his, and then so there's going to naturally be a discussion, back and forth. And so he basically asks this ghulam, to tell him a story. And so the ghulam tells him the story of a fox and a lion. And the story, I don't remember all of it, but basically it goes something like a fox basically tells a lion, if you protect me, I will go and I'll hunt for you. I'll go and I'll hunt for you. So I'll bring you back your food, but you on the condition that you're protecting me. And so the lion says, okay. He agrees. And so the fox would do this, would go and get food for the lion, and then would be near the lion to be protected from the lion, would be on like the back of the lion, for example, to be protected. And then one of the days, there's a big bird, like an eagle or a big bird of a predatory bird. And so the fox gets scared and goes on the back of the lion, so that the lion will protect the fox from this swooping predatory bird. And what ends up happening is the bird is able to swoop down and basically scoop up the fox. And obviously this is, they're not really talking, but the story is, the benefit from the story, the lesson from the story is, as the bird is taking the fox away, the fox says to the lion, we agreed you were supposed to protect me. And the lion says, look, I agreed to protect you, but from things that were on land. I can't protect you from what's coming from the sky. That's beyond my power. That's beyond my jurisdiction. Really, I have no. How am I? You want me to fly, right? And so Abdul Malik bin Marwan, when he heard this story from the ghulam, from this young man, he connected it to his situation, and he turned back. And he basically said to him, he's like, you have advised me with a valuable advice. So he turned back and he went back to Dimashq, and he didn't end up being afflicted by the ta'un, by the plague, and he didn't die from it. Right, but one of the mashayikh mentioned this here in the context of these verses here, this idea of being reminded in different ways of you can seek protection, you can seek that help, but who is going to protect you from who else do you have as a protector besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who's going to protect you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? They are big on denying. They put their culture over the message. Jameel. This is something that they're known for their constant denial and for their constant rejection. May Allah keep us safe from having any of those trials. Ameen. Ameen. May Allah protect us indeed. And may Allah forgive us for our shortcomings in the trials as well. Okay, any questions up until here? Any questions up until here? Alhamdulillah, we covered that first part of what we recited. So is there any questions as we continue? Okay, let's continue then, inshallah. If there's questions, you can put them in. I will just continue the recitation. قد يعلم الله المعوقين منكم والقائلين لإخوانهم هلم إلينا ولا يأتون البأس إلا قليلا أشحة عليكم فإذا جاء الخوف رأيتهم ينظرون إليك تدور أعينهم كالذي يغشى عليه من الموت فإذا ذهب الخوف سلقوكم بألسنة حداد أشحة على الخير أولئك لم يؤمنوا فأحبط الله أعمالهم وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا يحسبون الأحزاب لم يذهبوا وإن يأتي الأحزاب يودوا لو أنهم بادون في الأعراب يسألون عن أنبائكم ولو كانوا فيكم ما قاتلوا إلا قليلا لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا ولما رأى المؤمنون الأحزاب قالوا هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله وصدق الله ورسوله وما زادهم إلا إيمانا وتسليما. Translation: Allah has perfect knowledge of those of you who present obstacles and those who say to their brothers, come to us. It is seldom that they participate in battle. They are miserly towards you. When fear comes, you will see them look at you with their eyes rolling like a person being overtaken by death. When the fear abates, they insult you with sharp tongues, greedy for wealth. These are the ones who have no iman, so Allah destroys their deeds. This is an extremely simple task for Allah. They think that the armies have not retreated. If the armies were to arrive, they hope they were rather to the out Assalamu alaikum. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties on my part. Okay. I think I got frozen as I was reading the translation. Okay. My apologies. So we were, let me continue just reading the translation. They think that, so I'll start from ayah 20 in the translation. They think that the armies have not retreated. If the armies were to arrive, they hope that they were rather to the outback, inquiring about your condition. If they were with you, they would fight only a little. There is definitely an excellent example in Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the one who fears Allah on the last day and the one who remembers Allah abundantly. When the believers saw the armies, they said, "This is what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam have promised us. Allah and His Messenger have spoken the truth." They then increased in iman and submission. Okay, good. Okay. Question: if they did not want to support the Prophet ﷺ and were not afraid of fighting, why does Allah mention not escaping death or about who protects them? Yeah, that's why. That's one of the opinions or one of the approaches. But part of it also is, and Allah knows best, that they didn't want to lose their lives. You know, this is a time of fear in general as well. Remember, you have the entire army coming against them, and this is not a battle that they want to be a part of for multiple reasons, but definitely one of which is that there's a fear that they're going to get wiped out, right? They're going to get wiped out completely, and so they still have that fear of the loss of life. But Allah is saying, if it was for another cause, then you would have seen them participate. And that's one approach. But the other understanding is, if they're asked, like if the armies come in and it's asked from them to basically renege and to basically run away and turn away from iman and enter into shirk, they would have done that without much hesitation. Allah knows best. How many Muslims after some left? Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. I didn't come across numbers. So some of the narrations mentioned 1,500 who are digging, who are part of the army. How many left and how many abandoned? I didn't come across anything that mentioned any specific numbers. And we'll see. There's maybe a reason for that, because one of these, the ayah that's coming up, talks about their, like, what they were doing in a way of kind of like showing their participation, but not actually participating. And that's going to come inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, Allah has perfect knowledge of those of you who present obstacles and those who to say to their brothers, come to us. It is seldom that they participate in battle. It is seldom that they participate in battle. Sorry, I'm just waiting for this to open. Okay. So the word here, ba's, we read the translation, but the word ba's usually it's referring to al-harb wal-qital. وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الْبَأْسَ. They don't come to the fighting, like to participate in battle and fighting, except illa qalila, except a little. Okay, and so that's what the word ba's here is referring to. قَدْ يَعْلَمُ اللَّهُ. So it is interesting here because the harf qad, when it comes before a verb that is past tense, then it indicates emphasis, right? And we see that generally either with qad or with laqad. The lam there is an additional level of emphasis, right? قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, right? لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا. Indeed, those that they have disbelieved, the ones who have said. So when it comes before a past tense verb, it indicates ta'keed. When it comes before a present tense verb, right, like we have here, it can indicate either tahqiq, like to emphasize that something happened, that show yes, this definitely happened, right? To validate, verify something, or it can indicate, maybe, like it means like maybe. قد يكون أو قد لا يكون. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't happen. How do we know which one it's referring to? It depends on the context, right? It depends on the context. Here, which one is it referring to? It's clear, right? This is for tahqiq here. That Allah definitely knows al-mu'awwiqeen minkum. Who are al-mu'awwiqeen minkum? Mu'awwiqeen min awwaqa. It's the ism fa'il for this verb. Mu'awwiqeen is the ism fa'il for the verb awwaqa, right? And it indicates you have a verb here, awwaqa, that has the shadda on it. This is mubalagha. This is like extensive or extra of the verb of the verb of the verb to that's indicated by awwaqa, right? It's extra. What does awwaqa mean? It's takthir tathbit. So Allah is saying tathbit, I should say, not tathbit, tathbit, takthir of tathbits. So Allah is describing, he's saying Allah knows al-mu'awwiqeen, the people who do a lot of tathbits. What is tathbit? Tathbit is to basically stop people or to kind of like hold the Muslims back, hold the community, hold the army back. Basically telling them, telling people, don't go and fight, discouraging people from being part of this campaign, of this circumstance, of this situation, stopping them from doing something that's beneficial, stopping them from doing, like they are basically, in a way, the haters of that time. And the people who are, it's not just enough for them to not do good, right, and to hold back, but also to, through their actions and through their words, to stop others from it as well, right? So they don't want to see others doing good. They also want to stop others from doing good, right? قد يعلم الله المعوقين منكم والقائلين لإخوانهم هلم إلينا. And the ones who say to their brothers, halumma ilayna, come to us, come to us. Who's saying this to who? The majority said that it's the hypocrites who are saying this to the ones with the sickness in their hearts. Right? It's the hypocrites saying this to the ones who have the sickness in their hearts. And we'll mention that, but so the hypocrites are telling those who have, we said that you have those who have like the sickness in their hearts, and they haven't reached the level maybe of hypocrisy, but they have that weakness, they have that sickness in their hearts. So the hypocrites are saying to them, halumma ilayna, right? Halumma is ta'alu, come to us, right? Come to us, basically abandon, come back to your homes, avoid these, the difficulties of that situation, right? So this is again a common kind of theme or a common thread that's found in the hypocrites, right? Halumma ilayna, and so that's one. They said it's one opinion is that it's the hypocrites saying this to those with the sickness in their hearts. Some said that this is actually the Jews saying this to the hypocrites, right? The Jews of Medina saying this to the hypocrites. They're telling them, "Halumma ilayna," basically, come to us, come to our side, come, abandon the Muslims. Halumma ilayna. So this is another opinion. The reason that the majority say that it's the hypocrites saying this to the one who have the sickness in their hearts, the qarina, the evidence, the contextual evidence that they have, is that Allah says here, "Al-mu'awwiqina minkum," from you, the ones who present obstacles, who from you, minkum, from amongst you, showing that it's people who are from amongst the the Muslim kind of, the group, the Muslim army here as a whole. And so minkum, from you, indicates that it's people from amongst you who are saying this, and that would kind of make this, in the interpretation of it being the Jews as the ones saying this, as a little bit, not as strong as what the majority are saying, Okay. وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الْبَأْسَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And Allah is saying, and they don't come to al-ba's, they don't come to the battlefield, they don't come to engage in battle except a little. What does this mean here? وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الْبَأْسَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. So Allah is doing two things here. He's doing nafi and He's doing ithbats. He's negating something and He's affirming something. He's negating them coming to the battle, okay, and coming to being participants in engaging in the battle. But then He's affirming illa qalila. He's making an exception. He's saying that they're except for a little bit. So what does this mean? One of the mashayikh, he gave an example to kind of better understand what is being referenced here. He said, like if you have, this is the example he gave, and you can, kind of play with the example in a way, or apply it in a different situation. But, if there's like a group of friends, okay, and one of the friends, it's like, let's say a group of, however many friends, one of them wants to get married, okay, and one of them he's going to get married, and so the group of friends that he has, some of them are sincere and well-wishing friends who, when they hear, okay, this person, our friend, is getting married, they want to help out, they want to be a part of it, they want to join in and be a part of the happiness and the work that's involved in helping their friend out. But some of them are not. Some of them they are maybe jealous, or they feel like, man, this person is getting married before me, or they don't deserve to get married, and these kind of things. So they're part of this friends group, but they don't feel that sincerity towards this friend of theirs who's getting married. But at the same time, they don't want to be like criticized or blamed for not being part of the festivities, or not being part of the situation, right? They're not being part of this. And so what do? So in essence, they want to be a part of it, like to save face, but they don't want to be a part of it because they don't they don't feel like a sincerity towards this friend. Okay, it doesn't mean that a person doesn't want to be a part of. You guys already know that. I don't have to explain that, right? But it doesn't mean that, this person doesn't want to be involved in the festivities for other reasons, that this means that they're not sincere or whatever it may be. Understand it in the context of what we're talking about, okay? They're close friends. Normally they would have no problem with that, but of being part of something like this, but they don't want to be a part of it because of they don't, the jealousy or whatever it may be. So what happens? You have the wedding, or you have like the events of the wedding. And, so you have these friends who are part of it, that are there. They have the ability to and so they're there the entire process. They're there the entire process. Whereas you have this one friend who is, really doesn't want anything to do with this, and so they're just trying to show face and save face as minimum amount of times that they can, and in a way that kind of frees them from being kind of criticized, or people being suspicious of them, not wanting good for their friend. And so they'll show up, for example, when everyone is around, and kind of like just ceremoniously or symbolically just show their face to show that, oh, I'm doing something, where they're actually not. And then when, the part of, there's like a part that has a lot of gathering of people, and like the pictures are being taken maybe or something like that, they're there front and center. But then when work needs to be done, or when there's something that needs to happen that involves like not everyone seeing it, but involves, work behind the scenes or help, those other friends, they're like, you know what, they'll help out. They want it because it's about being there for their friend. But this one, he'll just hide and run away and want nothing to do with that. So it's this, like, it's basically putting up a front or putting up a show. Okay, they didn't really do anything, but they showed that they did. I know it's kind of a long example here, but you get the idea. And this doesn't mean don't look back and now say, oh, this person, they weren't really involved in my wedding. Or it doesn't have to be a wedding. Could be like they bought a new house, and people are happy for them, and like, yeah, we'll help. But then there's someone who is jealous about that, or not happy about that, or wants nothing to do with that. And so it's like, yeah, that's great, but is secretly like, not. Anyways, you understand what I'm saying. But I don't want people to look back at their own like experiences and oh, that's why that person wasn't there when I asked them to be there. No, maybe they just didn't. They weren't able to help you, or maybe you're asking too much of them, right? But this is kind of to give just a somewhat of an approximation of this idea of how the hypocrites are here, and they have no excuses here, right? They have, and it's out of not wanting good for the Muslims, and not feeling like they have any investment in this community, right? So the Khandaq, digging the Khandaq, it took time and it took effort, and it took murabata, and it took standing there and going. And we talked about some of these stories, what they were going through and what they were dealing with, and the guarding and the fear and all of these things that the believers are experiencing, right? And so what the hypocrites are doing here is that if there's like a meeting where everyone would show up and show face, that they would show up and they would show face, and they would show that they're there and they're at the front lines, right? But when the work started, and when the nitty gritty needed to happen, where would they be? It would be nowhere to be found. They would go home, right? And so that's why we don't know. Like, it's not necessarily just that you have some people who just left and then that's it, but it's like a fluid situation in terms of showing that they are there, that they're supporting, but in actuality they're subversive, and they're really not sincere in their attempts or their helping of the believers, right? So if there's like food or some beneficial, some reward, they'll show up. They're there. If there's like a giveaway, they're there front and center, right? But if there's nothing like that, to find them is going to be very, very difficult. And that's why, even when the Prophet ﷺ, he talks about the most difficult prayer on the hypocrites, right, is what? Is Fajr and Isha. And at that time, why specifically Fajr and Isha? Because those are the two salawat that a person could get away with not going and not being criticized or not being looked at like, where is this person? Because in Fajr it's dark and Isha is dark. There's no like, there's no lighting like that shows, okay, who everyone is and everyone's here. So that's something that they could kind of get away with, right? And so they would show up to save face and to show face and these kind of things. But when things are there's not that show or to show, then you find, and when things become difficult, they just disappear. And this doesn't mean for us, like obviously we have our own weaknesses and our own shortcomings when it comes to to helping and to being there and to showing up as well, right? But the it's may Allah forgive us. May Allah forgive us, definitely. Right? But here we see that, so the qilla, when Allah says وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الْبَأْسَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, the qilla, the small amount of their hudur, of them showing up, it shows that they didn't want to support the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't have a desire to support the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if they were there, right? They didn't have a desire to support him, but they feared blame and they feared punishments. They feared what's going to happen if I don't show up. They feared what's going to happen. What are people going to say that may expose me and that may show my reality if I don't show up? And so that's the motivating factor for them to show up to the salah, to the battle here. It's about what people say. It's about what people think, and not about a desire to support the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And that's again why we said that they're being exposed. They're being their reality is being shown. Their reality is being shown, and that's why even they said inna buyutana awra, our houses are exposed. Wama hiya bi'awra, it's not exposed. But what actually gets exposed is them. Right? So it's a beautiful kind of like, even the wording, subhanallah, that they are making an excuse, and Allah is about being exposed, or they think that they're being, they're using this as an excuse, and in reality, what they're doing is they're exposing themselves. They're exposing themselves. So the Muslims, the enemy was 10,000. Yes, the Muslims were about 1,500. About 1,500. Jazakallah khair. Nafa'allahu bikum ya Shaykh Hassan. Sadly relevant to our lives too. Important to keep good company. Jamia as well. Definitely. There are things that we can take, lessons that we can take. So inshallah, we don't reach the level of nifaq, like how they were, but these qualities we can kind of judge ourselves against them as well, and to see if we carry some of these qualities, right? Nifaq is of two types. There's nifaq aqadi and nifaq amali. There's the nifaq of the belief, right? And this is what these hypocrites had, and then that manifested in all of these actions, right? But that nifaq aqadi is that when a person claims belief on the outside, but internally they don't believe, or they reject, right? So that's nifaq aqadi. Nifaq amali is hypocrisy in actions. And these are like the qualities that Allah describes the hypocrites with, and the Prophet ﷺ describes the hypocrites with in the hadith. These are the qualities that if a person has them, they have a shu'ba, they have a branch or a character trait of hypocrisy, right? And so nifaq amali, it doesn't reach the level obviously of disbelief, but it's something that may Allah forgive us. May Allah forgive us that that these qualities that many of us may carry. May Allah forgive us and help us overcome these qualities. Help us overcome these qualities. May Allah protect us from such friends and being one of them. Ameen. Ameen. What is murabata? Murabata is like to stand guard. To stand guard. Like, I forgot the English word for it. There's a good English word for it. Ribat. It's basically the concept of standing guard. Like someone who is like the sentry of the Muslim army of the ummah, to protecting the borders, protecting the what's exposed from the army or from the society, right? So to stand the front line army, the front line soldiers. And this is a huge, there's a lot of reward that's mentioned for the one who's the murabit, the one who stands guard. Because this is someone who's protecting the Muslims, right? This is what the Muslims are doing here in Murabata, that they're protecting the city of Medina. They're protecting the women, the children, the vulnerable in the city of Medina. Right? So this is why here Murabata is emphasized, because it's a form of defense, is a form of protection of the Muslims. Okay. Let's see how far we got. Okay, I think we will. Okay, so someone asked in one of our groups, don't forget to send the automated giving website. So the name of the automated giving, so you can do it through LaunchGood. LaunchGood has a nice thing where you can select campaigns and it'll automatically give on each night or on each day. But the actual website I think is specifically, it's called my10nights.com. my10nights.com, and you can automate that for the automated giving every night. But like I said, if you're able to remember that, maybe you can put like a small amount or a certain amount. It doesn't have to be small, but you can put whatever amount for the nights. But then if you're, if something comes up as well that you're able to give actively, that's also something that can be very, very beneficial and the need and fulfill a need that's there, inshallah, as well. Right? So if maybe someone can write it on Facebook, so I don't have access to write in the comments. My10nights.com. My10nights.com is one of the websites, and LaunchGood is the other one. And then also through the Masjid's website, subhanAllah, I was on the Masjid's website, and I saw like there's, because someone was asking about some of the sections of the website. So I saw the, when you hit the donate, either the Ramadan campaigns that are there, or just the list of things that are available to donate. And subhanAllah, just in the Ramadan campaigns, you have maybe 6-7 campaigns, and that can be something that you give to. Or if you look at just the drop down and how many things that are available there, that's also an opportunity to give, and to give close to home in a way that's the third one is we have a lot of different spellings of it. It's my10nights spelled out with the 10 spelled out. Jameel. Jazakallah khair. That's it right there. My10nights.com. Thank you. And so, like I said, so that's another area to look in, to be able to spend. And remember, it's between Maghrib and Fajr, so you have that entire time to give in that time, right? And inshallah, it's something that will be accepted and will be beneficial, accepted and beneficial. So if we have any questions, inshallah, we can take. And we have, see that right there, right there. There, you see it. You can have a recurring donation for the masjid as well. Something also definitely to encourage and to be a part of for sure, especially for those from the community and supporting the community. And consistency, subhanAllah, maybe you make the intention in Ramadan now to consistently give, and that's something that you get the reward of then for that consistency. And the most beloved of actions to Allah is that which is consistent, even if it's small. Did this group end up fighting in the battle, or did they get convinced by the hypocrites to flee to home? Remember that there wasn't that much actual fighting here. So it's possible that some of them, were kind of tempted to kind of, retreat back to their homes, or some of them overcame these, these temptations by the hypocrites. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. More of the focus here is on the hypocrites. Again, this idea of them not just not doing good themselves, but also being an obstacle to good for others, and how we can be, influencers and influenced. We can be influencers and influenced. We don't ever want to be obviously influencers of evil, but also to be careful to not be influenced by evil as well. May Allah protect us. May Allah forgive us. Good question. Good question. And any other questions? Any other questions? So for those who came on at the end or later, from we spent on a little bit in the beginning, you can go back, inshallah, to the video once it's posted and kind of go over that in terms of just some of the strategies, general advices relating to the last 10 nights, I should say. And obviously, like we said, it's beginning from tonight, the 21st night. And so that's something that is a reminder again to myself and to everyone of trying to take advantage of these remaining 10 nights. Trying to take advantage of these remaining 10 nights, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, we got through a good amount. Maybe not as much as I wanted to, but it's okay. So inshallah, we will continue tomorrow. Our schedule remains the same, inshallah, through the last 10 nights. I know, maybe some people are going to be a little bit more tired if they're staying up all of the nights, but we're still, inshallah, staying on the same schedule, 11:30, inshallah. Maybe we'll go a little bit lighter, maybe. We'll see. Because I know a lot of people are going to be tired and want to be focusing on their nights, inshallah. We have, we have class tomorrow, obviously, and that's Thursday, and then that'll be the end of the week, and so you have kind of the weekend to just, focus on the nights, focus on, kind of recovery during the days as well, and then inshallah next week we have 4 more classes, and then you'll have from Thursday on as well. So in essence, 5 more classes. So inshallah, push through what remains in Ramadan. And inshallah, hopefully it's something that will be beneficial to us, not just in our days, but in our nights as well. Inshallah ta'ala. Any questions? We have a few minutes left we can take, and we can remain for questions, inshallah. وإياكم جزاكم الله خير. Okay, if there's no questions, if there's nothing, inshallah, then we can wrap up here. And we will continue, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, from tomorrow, 11:30. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make these last 10 nights better than our first 20 days of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to witness and to reach and to benefit from Laylatul Qadr. Oh yes, do we have any reflections for today? I'll be honest, I did not think of anything specific, but let's see from the ayahs that we were going to cover. Okay, so in the context of these verses, we have Allah describing, the conditions of the hypocrites here, the conditions of the battle, and then in ayah 21, we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. That indeed in the Messenger of Allah, you have a excellent example. لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. For the one who desires or seeks Allah and the last day and remembers Allah much. What do you think the connection is between what has come or what has passed, these verses that are describing the hypocrites, and then this mentioning of the Prophet ﷺ being the example, and then what comes after it of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing the believers. So it'll make you kind of read through it a little bit before and then after, and inshallah to find a benefit in it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So looking at verse 21 and its context, inshallah. Okay. Jazakumullahu khair. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Ameen. Ameen. May Allah give us all what's best of this world and the next, and may Allah forgive us for our shortcomings. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.